With that, we are starting a brand new series called Your Integrity, Our World. And I'm going to ask you a question. You don't need to raise your hand, even though I always say this and then people still raise their hands. That's fine, but you don't need to. You don't need to be that honest. And here's the thing. Here's why you don't need to raise your hand. I already know the answer. I know the answer is yes, even if you try to push back. I know the answer is yes. Here's the question. Have you ever lied in an attempt to assure someone that you could be trusted? Anyone? Don't raise your hand. Have you ever lied? And it's the ultimate irony, in an attempt to assure someone that you could be trusted. So one of the incidences I remember is we had a rule in our house, like so many people, with my mom, that I couldn't have anything in the living room, throw any footballs because I would break something. And there was always this rule of like, if you break the rules, I can't trust you. I'm not going to leave you by yourself. So I was around, 10 or something. And I did what I wasn't supposed to. And I broke something in the living room. And my mom confronted me on it. And was like, did you do this? And I was the obvious culprit of the situation. But I had a decision to make because I wanted to be trusted and I wanted the benefits that came with being trusted. So I just straight up lied to her. I was like, nope, wasn't me. I don't know. Seems like it should be me. I could understand why you would, accuse me, but it wasn't me. And later on, my younger sister's 3 years younger than me, got accused of doing what I did, breaking something in the living room, to the point that she got punished for what I did. And you would think at some point along the way it would ping my conscience. It didn't. At 10 years old, it wasn't fully developed. I let her take the consequences and get punished for what I did. It was horrible. I did feel it, but I didn't do anything about it. And then years later, I told that story in a message that I didn't know my sister was going to be listening to. And afterwards, she's like, are you serious? Are you kidding? Because I held it for all those years, which is really what I use message series for, confession and a cheaper version of therapy. So anyway, that was one. And so I lied to my mom in order to be trusted, which is really funny. Now, if you're judging me, as some of you often do, you, I bet, have your own experience. Maybe for you is when you were going off, just getting out of college and you're trying to get that first real job. And you're kind of tempted to inflate the resume just a little bit, to inflate your job titles just a little bit. So you had something like sanitation logistics coordinator on there for the janitor position that you had at 17, or another one was multi-route logistical strategist. You drove Uber, but it was a multi-route logistical strategist. I'm telling you, these things these show up on resumes. The other one is production distribution technician. But at Publix, they would just call that a bag boy or a bag girl. And this is my favorite. A rapid cuisine solution expert. And your friend's like, weren't you the drive-through window guy at Wendy's? And you're like, yeah, I was the rapid cuisine solution expert. And these are great jobs. There's nothing wrong with any of these. But, you just feel the temptation of because I want to be trustworthy for that new position, I'm just going to inflate the job titles just a tad. I'm going to inflate maybe the importance of that position just a little bit. And you are faced with an option. And we've been faced with this option a lot. You probably will experience it this week, where you can either tell the truth or you can be trusted, but you can't do both. There's this conflict. Or you lie, again, the ultimate irony, you lie in order to be trusted by someone else or maintain the respect or the trust of someone else. Let me put it another way. Have you ever compromised your integrity to protect your reputation as someone with integrity? But we do this, or we are tempted to do this. Have you ever compromised your integrity to protect your reputation as someone who has integrity? And the thing is, somewhere along the way, everybody feels this, you want to be trusted and you want to be respected. I get why people in my position get caught in bad scenarios sometimes, because to the extent that there's a gap in their life, they don't want to be seen as a hypocrite or what's wrong with that person? Or man, pray for Nicole, his wife, it must be off the rails. So they would be tempted when they mess up to cover up or to hide. And everybody feels that pressure in different scenarios if they haven't anchored themselves to what we're going to talk about. Because shame avoidance in all of us is really, really strong. It's really, really pervasive. And so we feel all that. In fact, in some cases, we would rather be bad than look bad as it relates to our integrity, because we so care about what other people think and how other people think about us. And we would rather them see us as people with integrity, in some cases, than actually have integrity. But here's the thing I was thinking about. On several instances, people on my staff have come to me and they have admitted something that kind of, where they just dropped the ball on something, nothing big, but, didn't come through, did something wrong at some level. And they just admitted what they had done. And it is especially important when I would have never found out, but then they come to go, this is where I messed up. And they just admit it to me. And I always think that it's interesting from the outside because the people that have done that, or those few staff members who've done that over the years, I didn't lose respect or lose trust for them. I mean, isn't it interesting? I actually gained trust and gained respect for those people because that's actually what integrity is. It's when you mess up, you own up rather than cover up. That's really at the heart of what integrity is. So in this series, we're going to talk about it for a number of weeks. And we've titled it, Your Integrity, Our World, because your integrity matters to you, but it doesn't just matter to you. And this is a lot of times where there's a disconnect. It matters to the people around you. When your integrity fails or erodes, because we always think of it as deeply personal, but it always affects some people around you. It affects at some level the world around you. And here's the thing about integrity. We are quick. I mean, isn't this true? And again, when I'm talking about this in this series, I'm talking about me. I'm right there with you. This is a human being thing. We are quick to excuse lack of integrity in somebody else, but we expect it from other people in our lives. And I think at some level, this has been dumbed down or the importance of this has been eroded a little bit. But, at different times you would expect it or become understood that like a leader should have integrity, or an employees, you'd expect them to have integrity, or a friend that you were close with, or neighbors. You just there's a universal expectation of some level of integrity, like be a decent person, tell the truth. Maybe your boyfriend, your girlfriend, husband, wife, fiance, whoever it is. But there's this expectation that they would be people of integrity. It's so interesting. Even when you're not, we just expect it from them, even though we don't always hold ourselves to the same standards. I mean, it's interesting that even like con artists and cheaters don't expect other people to lie and steal from them, which is just so funny. They're like, you lied to me. It's like, I know you're a con artist. I know, but like you always expect other people to live up to these standards of integrity, even when we don't, which points to a universal truth that you might not believe right now, but at some level, I think your life has experienced. Is something that C.S. Lewis, one of my favorite theologians and writers, talked about, Paul talked about in the New Testament. But when that happens, it really is indicating this universal ought to or ought not that all of us point to. Meaning that regardless of what you think about God, and we have a lot of people even today who are watching online, who are in here, and you're just trying to figure out what you believe, or you walked away a long time ago, and I'm so glad you're investigating. But even if you're not sure about your belief in God, at some level, this kind of points to the fact that there is a God because you feel this thing inside of you. And in fact, you actually point to certain ought and ought nots that you hold other people accountable to. And you didn't make them up. It's as if that you didn't originate them, but you can't shake them. In fact, isn't it true that there's certain times in your life where you're on the verge of a decision or you're contemplating something, and if you could, you'd get rid of the ought to that's inside of you. Like you don't want to feel it. You don't want to hear it. You don't want the voices in your mind. You just want to do what you want to do. So it's like we didn't originate it or create it, but we can't shake it. It's just there. We feel it. It presses on our conscience. In fact, Paul, who wrote like 2/3 of the New Testament, put it this way, that the law of Christ is imprinted or written on our hearts, whether we believe in God or not. That's just that thing that you might call your conscience. But there's just certain times you're like, I know I should. I know I shouldn't. I know I should tell them the truth. I know I should come clean on this. I know that I shouldn't do this deal because it's just, I don't know if I can live with myself. And you just feel this sense of should and shouldn't, ought and ought not to. And it's because the law of Christ is written on your heart. And the law of Christ is not some civil law. It's just that law that Jesus introduced. I want you to love yourself and love other people the way that God has loved you in Christ. And in fact, when you're a person of integrity, that's one of the ways that you love you and love the people around you, because otherwise, lack of integrity always hurts you. It always hurts other people. And so there's this sense in which there is this divine understanding of should and shouldn't that is inside of us that presses on our conscience that we didn't create and we can't shake it. In fact, I'd say it this way. The moment we attempt to justify a behavior in our minds, like, I know I shouldn't, but everybody in my industry, they're not going to know. If I tell the truth, I'm actually saving them by not telling them the truth. The moment we attempt to justify behavior in our minds, we actually acknowledge the divine, because you didn't come up with that. You didn't create that. In some cases, you would get rid of that if you could. But the reason you feel it is because it's unshakable. It's just kind of in you and outside of you, and it presses on your conscience that there is a higher standard somewhere out there. And you feel it. It moves you. In fact, the other side of this is when you do what you ought to, at some level, it acknowledges God's rule over you, just meaning God's authority over you. That there is this intrinsic outside kind of barometer of right and wrong that you didn't create. But it's just, it's out there and you feel it, which means integrity really is just anchored to something that is beyond your fluid opinions, beyond cultural majority, beyond what everybody else thinks in culture. But as I've said, it's not just about you. And here's the case that I want to make, and we'll go deeper with this later in the series. Your integrity, and I don't think we often connect this dot, but your integrity determines the health and the depth and the quality of your relationships. I mean, this isn't just like this personal thing of like, I need to do right and I need to be noble. This has a direct link to what matters most to you. And whether you realize or not, your relationships matter most to you. At the end of your life, the quality of your life in large part is going to be determined by the quality of your relationships. And so it's just this thing that guides relationships. In fact, integrity is essential to relational contentment and relational fulfillment. And we know this. Because have you ever been in a relationship with somebody who, again, I know the propensity of like, elbow somebody, don't do that, who just blames other people. And we all have our different default mechanisms when we get caught or something goes wrong or, the small things, but it's just like we don't want anybody to, call us on it. But they always blame, they always shame. So there may be some kind of issue and they will find a way to turn it on you, or they constantly defend, always are defending themselves. And they don't know it, but everybody else who works with them knows it. They're deflecting. They tend to lie when they're under pressure sometimes, or kind of try to circumvent the truth a little bit. Like if you've ever tried to lead somebody like that, work for somebody like that, be in a relationship with somebody like that, it's almost impossible because integrity is essential to contentment and fulfillment in relationships. Like when we talk about romantic relationships, a lot of times people will point to, well, they just seem like they're right for each other. They're just so right for each other. Maybe. But I'm telling you, I've done this long enough. I've seen a lot of two people who were right for each other who ended up destroying one another because of a lack of integrity. Because it really does direct our relationships, and it directs our relationships for this reason. Proximity is the thing that creates the potential for friction in any kind of relationship, which increases the demand for integrity. Proximity increases the potential for friction. Do you know why you hurt, in a lot of cases, the people who are closest to you? Because they are closest to you. Like this is why, one of the and I get it, and one of the misnomers about marriage, sometimes you get into a marriage relationships, and some people, it's rough early on. For my wife and I, we shared our story. It was really rough early on, really, really bad early on. And your initial thought is, well, I was amazing before I was married, and now I'm not amazing anymore. So the fact that I'm not amazing must be your fault. You are so bad, you've made me bad, right? That's what we think in a relationship. And yet in a lot of cases, nothing could be further from the truth. The marriage didn't create that. It just exposed that. I came into a relationship with some integrity deficiencies, and the relationship just exposed all of them. That's why a lot of times we just think, well, another job or another move or another marriage, that's going to solve it all. And then people get into a second and third of whatever, and they realize everywhere I go, there I am. And the same lack of integrity that was present in a previous relationship is present in this relationship. It wasn't necessary, sometimes, but it wasn't necessarily just them or just the relationship or just the environment. It was the proximity. You could have been with anybody and it would have created the same friction because it exposes what is inside of us, which actually increases the demand for integrity in all of our relationships. We know this because you don't generally get mad at your neighbor's boss, right? You don't get mad at a stranger's kids sometimes, but not generally. Or a neighbor's wife or a neighbor's husband. You get mad at yours. You get mad at and your neighbor may have a way worse boss, but you don't care about your neighbor's boss. You care about yours because it's all about who you are in proximity with, and it increases the need for integrity in all of your relationships. This is why, just to stay on this relational theme for a second, if you're single, looking good, doing all the stuff that you need to do to get dates and, have a relationship and have, high EQ, all the stuff that you need to be able to relate with other people, all of that's great. And that may get you a relationship or get you into a relationship. It's integrity that's going to determine the quality and the depth of that relationship. Falling in love, I'm just going to tell you, we don't ever want to say, that's easy. You can feel that with thousands of people. Staying in love, That requires integrity. That requires two people to work at it, to care about the stuff that's going on below the surface. Having kids, that's biological. Trying to raise those kids well when it's so difficult and staying around to do it, that requires integrity. Getting a good job, a lot of cases you need, I don't know, it depends on what they care about, a good GPA and a resume. Excelling at it and doing it in such a way that you don't trade your soul, that's going to require integrity. I'm just telling you, integrity, and this is what I want you to think about for a few weeks. Integrity is not just about you being noble and a person that does what's right no matter. It has everything to do with all of the relationships around you. And when your integrity erodes, it costs you. And here's the definition of integrity. I'll dig down on this a little bit more next week. Integrity is just this. It is the resolve to do what is right, even when it costs you. It is the resolve to do what is right, even when it costs you, or especially when it costs you. It's easy to have integrity when it doesn't cost you anything, and it actually is going to benefit you in some cases. It's much harder when if I choose this, if I tell them this, if I decide to not go in this direction, even though I feel the pressure, it is going to hurt me. It's going to hurt my career. It may end a relationship. That's where you really find out where you are. But integrity is the resolve to do what is right, even when it costs you in your relationships, even when it costs you and what's going on around you. And so here's the challenge with all of this. In every other area of your life, it is so easy to participate in self-management or improvement. I mean, you just go on Instagram, everybody's selling a course on something. You want to improve your golf game, somebody's got it for you. You want to do a better job of decorating your house, there's something. You want to start a business and become a millionaire in 90 days, somebody's figured it out. They'll tell you how to do it. I mean, everything you want, how to look better, have clear skin, a better golf game, increase your income. There is an answer for everything. We live in the, rise of the self-help society where there's a book, a podcast, and a course that you can buy, and you can get better at anything in 90 days. But here's my point. Who's helping you with this? Nobody on Instagram is like, here's my 90-day course in how to improve your integrity. Nobody cares. Nobody's helping you with this. So the question is, where do you go in this area? Because it means so much, it's so important, but you're not going to get any help with it. In fact, what makes it complicated is that the external pressures to compromise rather than preserve our integrity it's relentless. I mean, you're inundated, maybe, I'm not an overstatement to say every day, with the pressure to compromise in some way your integrity, your willingness to do what is right when it costs you. And for some of you, you'd even say maybe in my industry, this is how I get ahead. This is how I stay ahead. This is how I survive. So I get what you're saying, and it's nothing morally dark, but there's got to be a little wiggle room here. And then maybe even worse, the internal pressure to compromise rather than preserve our integrity is relentless. And you feel it, and it's in you because shame avoidance and failure avoidance is so strong in us. It's so pervasive. And so you're not getting any help with this. I'm telling you, when it comes to this area of your life, the deck is stacked against you. Nobody's helping you. And even people who love you, I mean, they kind of want to help you, but they got their own stuff, their own demons, their own stuff to work out with this. There's just no help. Sometimes it feels like there's no way forward. And that's really all I wanted to say today. So good luck. Let's pray, and I'll see you for part 2. Because that's how it feels sometimes. Where do I go? So what I want to do is dig down today on one verse. And I know some of you equate 30 verses with depth, and I understand all of that. But sometimes to actually be deep, you have to be clear, and you have to take enough time to just one verse today to try to make this clear and unpack this well. And it's a proverb, a Hebrew proverb, and the Proverbs were written by different people if you've ever read any of these. In fact, if you're not a Jesus follower, you should start in Proverbs because they don't even mention Jesus. So it just gives you advice about relationships and health and finances and all of that. And then maybe you'll start to go, well, maybe God knows something, and then you should start to reconsider Jesus. So Proverbs are great to start. There's these Hebrew proverbs, and a proverb, is like a pithy statement that illustrates or states something that is true or a piece of advice. And there's this proverb that we're going to talk about. It's going to be kind of the leading verse throughout the series. I'm going to talk about a bunch of different aspects of this and different narratives. But I would you should work this to memory. And I use kind of a clunky version of this because it kind of says it a little bit better. And then we're going to give this to you in a couple weeks so you can take it and kind of, hang it somewhere and memorize it. But it kind of gives us this North Star or this way forward in this area that honestly feels so daunting. It feels like we don't get any help with it. And here's what the writer of Proverbs says in this ancient Hebrew passage in Proverbs 11:3. The integrity of the what? Upright. The integrity of the upright will what? Guide. The integrity of the upright will guide them. Basically, something is guiding you. And for the person who wants to live with integrity becomes the guide. Like there's a lot of pressures, there's a lot of emotion, there's a lot of things competing for attention. There's certain things that are going to cost us. But for that person, all of their decisions are informed and directed by their integrity, which is a big statement. That the integrity of the upright, it guides everything they do. Every relationship, how they respond when they're hurt in a relationship, what they do in the marketplace when this has been their dream, what they need to do to get accepted into that thing, and they've been praying for it for 3 years. And yet the ultimate guide for how they're going to respond and what they're going to do and what's going to be their lens is their integrity. That's the thing that's going to guide and inform all their decisions. So this is a question I want to start with. And I'm going to come back to this throughout this series. And this is a question we think we know the answer to, but we don't always know the accurate answer. And that is what right now is guiding you. You know what you hope guides you for most people. But what is actually guiding you? Is it profit? Is it pleasure? Is it, I just want to look good? Is it status? Is it my reputation? And there's certain times that I actually would give more weight to my reputation than what actually is going on below the surface. Is it preservation? Is it financial security? Like what is, not what do you hope, what is actually guiding and informing your decisions and the direction of your life? And I'll tell you how you start to know is that some of those things, when you feel pressure, you are willing to compromise your integrity in order to get them or keep them. So what's actually guiding you? And everybody hopes that integrity is guiding them. Most people want that to be the litmus test for their life, but here's the reality. You don't know what actually guides you until maintaining integrity costs you. Isn't this true? You don't actually know. You think you know, you think you have an answer, you don't know. We don't actually know if integrity guides us until maintaining integrity costs us. And sometimes there's like 80% of our lives are like, yeah, I'm a person of integrity. But then when it actually costs you, because when it doesn't cost you, that's not really the test of integrity. You don't know if you have it or not. This is why, and this is going to sound a little bit weird, but I'm going to say it anyway, and we're going to come back to it later in the series. I hope at some point, and for some of you, you've had so many of these experiences, but if you haven't, I hope at some point you are faced with a massive, massive crossroads. And again, it's going to sound funny for me to say this, but where your integrity is tested. And you've got to figure out what to do. Because I'm telling you, that is an incredible gift if you're willing to lean into it, because it is in those moments where it's going to hurt. It's going to cost you. You're going to have to give up something. You're going to be looked at a certain way. That dream might die for this next season. And it's in that moment that you actually get to figure out what is most important to you. And you don't know otherwise. You don't know until it's tested. This is why, just real quick, this is why we should be so, and I'm talking to me on this because I can do this so easily, just like many of you. We should be so slow to judge other people where we have not walked in their shoes. Because for a lot of us, we think, well, have you ever said this? I would never do that. I would never do that. Are you kidding me? I mean, there's a lot of this other stuff, but I would never do that. And yet, you don't know that. Because here's the thing, there's always a that out there where like, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't make that decision. I wouldn't go in that direction. I wouldn't. Can you believe what they did? And yet the reality is until you are in their circumstance and you feel the pressure and you feel the emotion and you're in that situation walking in their shoes with what is at stake, and finally you're tested, but it's not even really a test, it's a pop quiz because you can't study for it, you can't prepare. You don't know what you would do. You don't know whether your integrity would hold up until you are actually in that situation. And so the question we're going to come back to that is a little bit provoking and a little bit uncomfortable, not what do you hope? What is actually guiding your life? What is actually informing your decisions and your direction in really all the arenas of your life? Now, the thing I love about this verse, it kind of gives us a word picture to go back to it. The integrity of the upright will guide them. This in the Hebrew says kind of exactly what you think. He's kind of drawing a picture for us to be able to see this. The upright are like upright. They look straight ahead. They're not looking at what is right in front of them. They're looking down the road. They're looking to the future. They're looking beyond just, the little things that have the potential to distract in the moment. So the integrity of the upright who want to live their lives toward the future, what Jesus would call life to the full. And life to the full is when you decide to embrace Jesus' agenda for your life in a way that's going to benefit you and benefit the people around you, not because it's easy, but because Jesus has called you into it. The upright live upright, shoulders up, looking to the future with a vision for what's ahead. They weigh their decisions, not in light of right now, but in light of what is up ahead, opposed to the person who is leaning over and looking down. And they see and they respond. This is how we live in a lot of cases. They see and respond to what is right in front of them. What they want today, the consequences they feel like is going to affect them today or in the next 6 months, what they feel like is going to cover their reputation today, what is going to be most beneficial for them this week. He's like, when you are leaning over and looking down, you see and respond to what is right in front of you. Your perception and your options are limited because you have no vision for the future. That you are, we'll talk about this next week, you are willing in some cases to trade tomorrow for something very temporary today. It's all about immediate. It's not about ultimate. It's all about now. It's not about later. And later always lasts longer than now. But it's always about what is immediate. The people who live upright and live with integrity and they live toward the future, there's a lot of stuff vying for attention. There's stuff that's gonna hurt in the moment. Yeah, I want it, but I'm not gonna, we're not gonna buy it. Yes, it's gonna hurt the relationship, but I know it's the right thing to do. But I am looking up ahead. I'm not looking to just right now. They ask the question that we talk about a lot around here. It's not just about a decision in the moment. It's about a story I tell. What story do I wanna tell? It's weighing my decisions in light of my future, or to say it another way, basically your posture influences your future. Your posture influences your future. What you're looking at, what you're responding to, what you take into account. And integrity, listen to me, integrity is always the long game. It's never about the immediate. It's never about now. It's never about the moment. Here's how I know this. For me and for you and for most of us, probably your greatest regret relationally and your greatest regret financially was when you were hyper-focused on what was right in front of you. So how do you move forward? How do you get this? How do you guard this? How do you keep this? And how do you move forward where you're not obsessed with immediate, but ultimately ultimate? So the writer of this Hebrew Proverbs says the integrity of the upright will guide them. So what's guiding you? And here's another little, thing to pay attention to. Again, like 80% of the time, you say, yeah, I'm a person of integrity. Because I'm able to make decisions kind of based off how I define integrity, but it doesn't necessarily cost me. It doesn't necessarily hurt me. But here's how you start to know. Whatever your trigger is, when you're under pressure, and all of a sudden, you're willing to blame, and you're willing to shame somebody else, and sometimes you'll shame them into submission in order for them to see things the way that you see them, or you will defend and defend and defend. And sometimes you ever gotten that case where you're defending so much, and then 70% of the way, and you realize you're wrong, but you're in too deep, and you just got to keep defending at that point, and you deflect, and you lie, and you won't have difficult conversations. I'm telling you, the other times when we feel really good about, I feel really good about myself, but it doesn't cost me, I don't really know. But in those moments where there is a trigger and then pressure comes on, and whatever I am willing to do when I'm triggered under pressure, that's a clue into what actually is guiding me and whether integrity is actually guiding me. So you should ask this question. If I am quick to abandon my integrity when the pressure is on, because that's what really matters, what's actually driving me? And this, again, you don't have to answer the question now. I'm not even asking you to do anything. I just want you to start thinking about it. It may be, and I'm not pointing my finger at you. This is all of us, man. This is me. It's maybe that you're concerned, I'm more concerned with looking good than actually being good, than actually maintaining integrity. I mean, the thing I always think about is this, like, what do you think about the people? Again, don't call them out or don't look at them if they're in the room, but they just always tend to, you're always blaming, you're always defending. You always defend. You can never own it. You can never just say I was wrong or say I'm sorry, or you say I'm sorry, but then there's like a ... and you add all this other stuff on the end of it. You're constantly excusing. You'll never have the hard conversations with me. Generally, what is your perception of people? Now look on the other side of it. And this is the thing that sometimes we don't think because we're so in preservation mode, and I don't want them to think badly of me, and we all want people to respect us and trust us. But what do you think about the people that they just mess up? And sometimes it's even extreme. I just screwed that up. I messed up. I was wrong. But they mess up and they own it, and then they work to clean it up. They work to reconcile. They work to fix it. And that doesn't mean the consequences go away or all is forgiven. But don't you have a lot more respect for people who don't hide, who don't cover, who don't run, that just go, I messed up, I was wrong, full stop, no excuses. I'm going to do everything I can to own it, and then I'm going to clean it up, because that's what people of integrity do. It is not perfection. It's accountability. It's responsibility, which honestly is probably encouraging for all of us, but I don't know how you're doing, but I'm not batting 1,000 at the perfect scale. Like, I'm not getting it all right. I'm not killing it in all the areas of my life. In fact, I think this thing maybe is the encouraging thing that I put in my notes as you think of the healthier relationships around you and, again, the people that matter most to you, and you want to be respected by them, you want to be trusted by them. And I would even give the kind of application to those of us who are parents and you're parenting kids, because this, for most of this, means so much to you. I think the thing that you need to keep in mind is this, that the health of your relationships and the respect of your children, if I can add that, is contingent on your integrity, not your what? Yeah, one more time. The big, bold word. Contingent on your integrity, not your what? The health of your relationships. In a lot of cases, the respect of your children, which a lot of you want, is not contingent on your infallibility. It's contingent on your integrity. And this is a big deal because I've done this for a while now, for a few years now, as I was reminded last week. And I've met and I've been, front row seat with so many relational dynamics and so many families. And one of the things that Nicole and I, my wife, did early on is as we were thinking about parenting our kids, and like all of you, like I felt so overwhelmed, I still do. My kids are I'm about to have a teenager. I'm like, I'm slow to make that transition. I mean, the whole thing is just a constant feeling of like, I'm inadequate and trying to catch up. So I get all of that. So we would meet with as many couples as we could who didn't have perfect kids, because those don't exist. But they had really good relationship with their kids, really good family dynamics, and we tried to learn either good or bad as much as we possibly could. And this was something that started to rise to the surface because I'll admit to you, I had so much anxiety watching so many parents have really bad relationship with their adult kids. I was like, I don't want that. Man, I'm hoping, because to me, like, family should be one of the biggest priorities. And as a follower of Jesus, I want appropriate influence in my kids' lives. I want them to respect me. I want them to trust me. And one of the things I found over and over where there was a disconnect, not always, obviously not always, but in so many cases, we saw so many situations where parents who are parenting adult kids, if they just could have not been perfect, they weren't perfect, but if they could have just owned when they weren't perfect and humbled themselves and owned it and tried to fix it and try to repair it. And some of you know exactly what I'm talking about because you're there right now. Your relational dynamic, some of your family would be so different if there were people in those circumstances who, not infallible, not perfect, were just willing to humble themselves and to own it and try to reconcile and try to fix it. We underestimate how much that would do in those relationships. In fact, another way to say it is this: it is okay to make mistakes. It's okay to be wrong. It is not okay to cover it up and lie about your mistakes. And it's been one of the things that has been most comforting to me because guess what? I mess up as a parent, just to use that example, all the time. In fact, my kids, I was talking to Nicole about this. I mean, they hear me say I'm sorry all the time. Because I decided early on when I saw so much of this that I was going to double down as a parent where if it was something I needed to own, I was going to own it. And I don't know if it's every day, but sometimes I do wonder if it's every day. I know it was a couple times this weekend. I had to take one or two of my kids and go, I am so sorry for that. I am so sorry for how I responded. I am so sorry for how I reacted. It had nothing to do with you. I'm so sorry that I was stressed and then you got the outflow of that stress. I'm so sorry I was so hard on you or whatever it is. But I say this all the time. It's not because I'm a great parent. It's because I screw up so much. But I'm telling you, this is the way forward. Now, sometimes there's also the inevitable, let's talk about how off the rails you were. So we'll get to that. But also, I need to stay in my parent seat. And I was wrong. I hurt you. I overreacted. I shouldn't have said that. And I just want to own it and tell you I am sorry. And that relates to every relationship in our life because your integrity is not infallibility. It's messing up. It's owning up, it's cleaning up, it's not trying to cover up. And if you would begin to live your life that way, man, you have no idea what God would do. Your integrity is the thing that really drives the relationships in your life. It is the thing that determines the health and the fulfillment and the contentment of those relationships. So Solomon ends the verse this way that we'll come back to. The integrity of the upright guide them, but the crookedness, or literally in the Hebrew, the bent of the treacherous. And that word treacherous in the Hebrew literally means, it's really interesting, to cover something with a blanket, to hide it, to not own it. This is what I want you to understand. If you think as you're processing all of this, where you you remember the gaps or some of the gaps right now between who you want to be and who you actually are, where you failed at this, where you haven't gotten it right, where you tried to cover, blame, direct, defend, whatever it is. The good news is God's grace is so available to you, and you don't have to get it perfect. And actually the starting place is just to go, I'm not going to hide anymore. I'm not going to cover it. I'm going to be a person of integrity. It doesn't mean I'm perfect. It just means I fully own it. And so the integrity of the upright will guide them, but the crookedness of the treacherous, it's kind of harsh language, will destroy them. And we've all experienced this because eventually it catches up to us. And eventually it impacts our relationships. And sometimes it destroys a career, and sometimes it destroys our reputation and a relationship with our kids or a season with our spouse that we wish we could get back. And all of us are prone, if we're not careful, to end up in that direction. So he just gives us a warning. The integrity of the upright will guide them because they're looking to the future, but the crookedness of the treacherous destroy them because it's all about now, not about later. It's all about immediate. It's not about ultimate. It's all about self-preservation. It's not about integrity guiding them. So as we close, what guides you? Is it ought to? Is it want to? And the want to is so strong, I can't even look to the future. Is it protect you? And can I just go back real quick to singles or single again, or you're in grad school, or you're looking into a relationship, or you're in your 50s and you're divorced and you're looking for the next thing. I just think this applies so specifically to this, so I want to kind of unearth it. If you ever hear, and married people, if you're already married or you're in a relationship or whatever, you'll kind of be like, yeah, this is true. If you ever find yourself thinking, if there's some things going on in you, or sometimes you don't like the way you react, and then you think, well, once I get married, can I just tell you, you might want to write this down. Once you get married, the only thing different about you is that you will be married. I know, it's brilliant. I don't know how I come up with it. You should be writing it down. Like, it's not a magic ring, Frodo. It doesn't, like, there's no magic powers. When you get into, and this could equate to other relationships as well, but I think it's most, relevant to this. It doesn't change anything. It doesn't make you able. It just makes you accountable. Or basically, saying I do doesn't mean you can do. It just means you intend to. Everybody intends to. Everybody intends to. But the integrity of the upright is what guides them. And one of the things you just need to know about relationship, it's not always the other person. Sometimes it is. But proximity creates friction. It doesn't create, in a lot of cases, it exposes what was already there. And so you intend to, but it doesn't mean you can do. And the thing about integrity is it's like a muscle. The more you exercise it, the more it grows. The more you exercise it, the more intuitive it becomes in either direction. And so when you are faced with a crossroad, maybe this week, you probably will be this week in small ways at least, you should see it as an opportunity to exercise this muscle of integrity. I get the opportunity to do something that is going to cost me or hurt me. And I want to begin to live upright, looking to the future, because it is going to impact me and it's going to impact every relationship of my life. And so I'm going to lean into this. Because the people who have the best relationships and find contentment and find fulfillment, it's not perfection. It's not infallibility. You'll find mess there too. It's over time, walking upright, allowing integrity to be their guide. And in those moments where the resolve is weak, they're able to muster the resolve by the power of the Spirit of God to do the right thing, even when it hurts them, even when it costs them. And here's how this connects with Jesus. I think you have been created by a creator. You don't have to believe that, but I think you have been. And I think you've been created to submit to that creator, a good creator who came and displayed himself in the form of Jesus. And so when you lean into that thing that maybe you would call your conscience, so I'm going to do what's right, even though it costs me, without you realizing it, is actually submitting to your Savior, your King Jesus, to go, I'm going to do what's right, and I'm going to trust you, and I'm going to surrender to you all of the consequences of the outcome, because you are a good God and you can be trusted. So you guys stand with me and let me just pray for you real quick. And I want to pray for you specifically about answering this question over these coming weeks and what it's going to mean for you, and honestly what it might mean for the people around you. Jesus, I thank you so much that you are a God that has been so clear through the scriptures in so many ways as it comes to leading us in life to the full. And it does not mean it is easy. I mean, everything we just talked about today, I think for some of us, we're like, can't wait for the series on prayer or whatever, because it's so convicting and so personal for all of us. But God, give us the courage to confront it. Help us, because we so expect other people around us to be people of integrity. Help us to begin to exercise those muscles, to be those people ourselves, to not live with hypocrisy. I pray for the people that are looking at, they're in kind of dating relationships right now. They're in grad school. They're single again, whatever age they are, that they would be the person that they're looking for is looking for. That they begin to move in this direction, that we would in every area of our life, recognizing it doesn't just impact us, it impacts all the people around us. At some level, it impacts our world. And Jesus, we want to be faithful to follow you in this area, to pay attention to that thing that you have hardwired in us, not to steal something from us, but actually for our good. And God, when we mess up, I pray you would meet us with your grace, that all over this room we can look at and think about times when there was a gap between who we wanted to be and who we are. But God, your grace, your love is enough in all you're asking us to do, knowing that we are not perfect. We're going to mess it up, that we would, when we mess up, we would own up, that we would clean up, that we would fix, we would try to reconcile, that we would be people of integrity. And so God, give us the resolve to do what's right, even and especially when it costs us. And we pray all of this in Jesus' incredible name. Amen.